Welcome to a discussion of the pros and cons for the 2022 ballot measures, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley and St. Mary's College. Let's talk about Proposition 1. Prop 1 was placed on the ballot by the legislature, and if passed, it will change the California Constitution. The wording for the measure is Constitutional Right to Reproductive Freedom, Legislative Constitutional Amendment. Here's some information about this proposition. If passed, Prop 1 will change the California Constitution to specifically prohibit the state from denying or interfering with an individual's reproductive freedom in their most intimate decisions, which include their fundamental right to choose to have an abortion and their fundamental right to choose or refuse contraceptives. The intention of this constitutional amendment is to further the constitutional right to privacy and the constitutional right to equal protection. To better understand Proposition 1, it's important to have some pertinent background information. Prior to 1973, abortions were prohibited in 33 states and only allowed in special circumstances in 13 others. With the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision of 1973, the U.S. Constitution recognized a protected right to choose an abortion. After that ruling, a variety of court challenges either upheld or rejected laws in a number of ways. For example, a variety of state laws limited the use of taxpayer money to pay for the procedures, required minors to obtain parental consent, required married women to obtain spousal consent, created waiting periods, and required instruction about alternatives to abortion. Yet, throughout this period of court cases, the U.S. Supreme Court continued to uphold the right to choose an abortion. This trajectory changed dramatically with the Dobbs decision this year, in which the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and eliminated any federal protection for the right to choose an abortion. The basis for the Supreme Court decision was that rights that are not explicitly mentioned in the U.S. Constitution must be deeply rooted in history and tradition in order to be guaranteed. Therefore, given this reasoning, some current rights are vulnerable because they may not be considered rooted in history. In a concurring opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas stated that federal protection for other personal rights, such as contraception and same-sex marriage, should also be reconsidered. Although California law currently recognizes the right to privacy in its constitution and recognizes the right to reproductive freedom in both statutory and case law, Proposition 1 seeks to further protect the right to privacy with respect to reproductive decisions. This would mean California would assure the right to choose whether to use birth control or choose to have an abortion. No state so far has a constitutional provision protecting abortion. California, Vermont, and Michigan are the first states to ask voters to put such an amendment in their constitutions. In Kansas, an amendment to prevent the Constitution from protecting abortion rights was resoundingly defeated in a special election in August. There would be no direct budget impacts from Proposition 1 because, while California shares the cost of contraception with the federal government, the state already pays the full cost of abortion through Medi-Cal for eligible low-income California residents. Those supporting Proposition 1 say that California can no longer count on the federal government to protect its rights, so it's important to enshrine the fundamental right to abortion and contraception in the California state constitution as extra protection. The law would ensure that only future state voters, not politicians or justices, could alter those rights, and as noted by the Los Angeles Times editorial board, frankly, every state needs to have the right to abortion stated in its constitution. A Public Policy Institute of California poll in July showed that 68% of Californians disapprove of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Most doctors, nurses, and health providers agree that it's necessary to keep reproductive medical decisions where they belong, with the individuals and their healthcare providers, based on scientific facts and not political arguments. Those opposing Proposition 1 said that women already have the right to choose under current California law and that the recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling will not change this. They feel that there is no need to change the California Constitution. Also, there are those who feel we need to protect the rights of the unborn fetus, especially when it reaches a viable age. Some of the supporters of Proposition 1 are the California Medical Association, Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, California Nurses Association, American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and the California League of Women Voters. Governor Gavin Newsom, State Senator Tony Atkins, and Nancy Skinner, and State Assemblymen Anthony Randon and Phil Ting are also supporters of the proposition. The $3.1 million in contribution funds have come from the Atkins Ballot Measure Committee. Some of the opponents of Proposition 1 are the Republican Party of California, California Conference of Catholic Bishops, and Democrats for Life of America. State Assemblymen James Gallagher and Randy Vopel are also opposed, as is John Fleischman, former executive director of the Republican Party of California. As of September 13, 2022, there have been no contributions against Proposition 1. We have done our best to give you a researched overview of this proposition, but please be aware that there will continue to be updates and additional information. We encourage you to visit the websites of Ballotpedia, the California Secretary of State, Easy Voter, and the Voter's Edge to stay informed. Thank you very much, and please remember to vote.